always going public for some damage control.
This was a major breach of trust, and I'm really sorry that this happened.
Time to let it rip. On the panel tonight, she's a graduate of the University of Michigan with an MBA in management, now president of Uplift Incorporated, an academy that trains people in computer programming, networking, and cybersecurity. Ida Bird-Hill is here. Next to her, the guru of public relations, Matt Friedman, started his career in TV news, but found his true calling helping businesses repair the damage to their reputations. Maybe Mark Zuckerberg should have called him first. Plus, the conservative mastermind who's helped put several Republicans in office. Who knows, if you pay him enough, he might even help some Democrats. Co-founder of the firm, Grand River Strategies, Jamie Rowe is back. And so is the Democrat who has been data mining before we even knew what the term meant. The media mogul has been involved in local and state politics for decades. Steve Hood is ready to rumble. As it's the man who knows something about everything, attorney anchor Charlie Langton. Ida, let's begin with you because we need to understand how the personal data of 50 million Facebook users could be turned into votes for Donald Trump. How did that happen?
Well, you know, data is everything. You can categorize, segment, and what have you. But the issue was not so much the 50 million turning into votes, it's how they got to the 50 million. See, it's one thing to say that I sold you 50 million for your data for the campaign, but what you said is that you were using a survey for university research, and then you took that with an app, and then you harvest the data to get to all of the 270,000 people's 50 million friends and family, and then you turned around and sold it. I don't think that that's somewhat fraudulent because nobody knew that you had done that. So Facebook feels like that they're in a bind because they kind of are in a bind because they should have protected those 50 million people who didn't know that their data was being sold.
Well, meanwhile, Matt, Mark Zuckerberg has made an apology saying that he knows that he has betrayed the trust of Facebook users. Is it enough?
There's a lot of geek speak in what he had to say on TV last night. I think it was really hard for consumers to decipher. Consumers are trying to figure out where they fit into this, and they're frustrated. Facebook knew about this in 2015.
Yeah,
they had plenty of time to prepare, but they got flat-footed late last week and over the weekend. Ironically enough, one of the reasons why we in PR have to move more quickly than ever is because of social media.
Oh, yeah.
Here is the dominant player in social media that did not move quickly, that let the stock market get out in front of it, and once the stock price started dropping, then they had something to say. The other thing is they have a CEO who's not a good verbal communicator. It's kind of awkward, kind of hard for the public to connect with and relate to. I think that could be a problem, but we need to figure out first, is this an outrage of the day? Is this temporary outrage for consumers? Are they going to go back to their cat videos tomorrow or the next day? Or is this something that's going to stay with Facebook? And I think it's going to be an interesting case study one way or the other.
Well, we also understand that Cambridge Analytica is closely tied to the Republican Party, Jamie. Yeah. Steve Bannon was once vice president of the company. He actually got the money to pay for the psychographic app that originally mined this information. And in fact, British TV met with some of the managers of Cambridge Analytica undercover, and here's what they say they could provide in addition to data.
Send some girls around to the candidate's house. We have lots of history of things.
Understand what he said, but yeah, we could give you data. We could also provide you some girls to go around to a candidate's house, take some pictures, do some things. Has it come to this in politics? Is all fair and love war in politics?
You know what? Everything I've heard about this group, Cambridge Analytica, they have a wide client base, and they provide a variety of products. That psychographic profile was simply one of them. Before they worked for Donald Trump, did a little bit of work for Donald Trump's campaign. They worked for Ben Carson and Ted Cruz, who both lost to Donald Trump. Okay, and one thing they've all said, all three campaigns said about the psychographic profile is it doesn't work. The Trump campaign said they didn't use it because it didn't work.
Oh, so, but how could that be when you paid $8 million to say it didn't work?
They paid $8 million through Cambridge Analytica, $5 million of which was a television buy. It wasn't all for this psychographic thing. They didn't use it. And the fact is, what the data mining effort, the Obama campaign did the same thing, if not worse, because you used Facebook to sign into the Obama website, and then they went in and mined all your data.
Well, see, that's
and they got all the genius.
But that's the difference. The difference is
campaign asked for permission.
That's the difference.
No, they didn't. They
you went to the website.
Facebook found out that they were doing it. They weren't supposed to do it, but they didn't stop them.
But if you signed up at the website at their campaign, you did give permission. Because at the bottom there's a little box to say, I'm giving you friends. This did not give people permission.
Okay.
270,000 gave permission, but how do we go from 270,000 to 50 million? There was no permissions between that.
But wait a minute, we have somebody who worked with the Obama campaign who says, look, they met early on with people from Google and Facebook to come up with a platform to get information on the kinds of voters who would vote for Barack Obama. This is what she said.
Okay.
We were actually able to ingest the entire social network of the U.S. That's on Facebook, which is most people. Where this gets complicated is that freaks Facebook out, right? So they shut off the feature. Well, the Republicans never built an app to do that. So the data's out there. You can't take it back, right? So the Democrats have this information. So when they look at a voter file and someone comes to them, they can immediately be like, oh, here are all the other people that they know.
And so apparently there's an arms race in politics. The Democrats were able to recognize the value of this data many years ago. And in fact, Steve, I can remember you even before computers looking over charts and graphs and districts and mapping out addresses. I mean, you were doing this before we even knew how to do it online.
There's several data providers where I would ask them a strange question like, who is a subscriber to this magazine? Who in Detroit subscribes to this? Who in Detroit subscribes to that? I append that to my voter history file. All right, which you can get from the state. But if you can get the address of the person that subscribes to, say, a parenting magazine or subscribes to Forbes, you know a little bit more about that person, all right, because of what they're subscribing to. So that's actually on my voter file. And if you can micro-target, all right, which is what Cambridge Analytica was trying to do, you can stave off all sorts of stuff. For example, last summer, you guys came after my good friend Brian Banks. All right, because Bill Schuette. Hold on. Because Bill Schuette.
He happened to be convicted of a crime, but didn't grant.
But Bill Schuette waited to the day before his statute of limitations went out, and you guys, you hit him. Now, by all reasoning, he should have lost that race to Pamela Sosi, but he didn't because we micro-marketed him to his voters and brought out his voters. Yeah, he won by 400 votes, even after everything you guys did.
Well, look, obviously this is nothing new to these experts, but Charlie, it is new to the public. They are shocked. Facebook stock is tanking right now. Investors are going to sue the company, and users are going to sue the company for making their personal information public. Do they have a case?
No, probably not. But you know what? All this profiling stuff, we've been doing, when you pick a jury, and there's jury questionnaires, we've been doing this forever. We always routinely ask a juror questionnaire, what movie do you watch? What television show do you watch? Do you own a gun? Is your friend a cop? We have been profiling people for years. This is just a more sophisticated way in this time with social media. It's been going on for years. Nobody should be shocked by this at all. As far as lawsuits go, come on. The stock is going to go down because people have a perception that there's an amount of privacy. We value privacy, but in reality, we don't have that much privacy. We don't have it. So I'm not a big fan of any of this stuff. I think if you put something on the internet, you buy something, you're going to get ads every day about something more to buy. It happens.
Well, are we fooling ourselves when we go online?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a double standard. You know, everybody who follows me on Facebook knows I like basketball, and I get advertised.
A Syracuse fan, by the way.
I get ticket offers all the time to go see basketball at Little Caesars Arena, and most consumers think that that's okay. But when it gets into democracy and politics, the public seems very uncomfortable with that. No, even though what's the #1 complaint of a lot of people about Facebook? There's too much talk about politics. All of these things fit together, and I think consumers need to start educating themselves and figure it out. And I think Facebook has a responsibility to communicate to its audiences about how this really works, because it's seeped out in bits and pieces, and that level of surprise shouldn't really be there anymore.
Is there a big difference between selling you a toaster or coat or influencing how you vote? Or is there a difference?
No.
I don't think
To the
there's a difference.
shareholders of
I don't think
Facebook, there is not.
There's no difference.
But today, if you looked on your phone, if you're a Google user, you got a big note from Google about their new data policy that matches the EU's policy.
Right.
All right. So it's all on your phone right now. It's on your email. Google's telling you what they're going to do. I think it's May 18th or